Greetings and salutations. Second star right here, talking some more Raid Shadow Legends. And look what we have here, a new year and a new camera. The clarity is great. Kind of reminds me of that episode of 30 Rock where no one wanted to walk in front of the new high-def cameras because it revealed too much about themselves. But that's okay. It was a Christmas present from the wife. She didn't know she got it for me. I opened it Christmas morning. She's like, hey, that's a nice camera. Where'd you get that? And I'm like, you got it for me, honey. And she's like, Merry Christmas. And I said, thank you. So today we will talk about Woad-Painted. Woad-Painted is a bad champion by all by all measures, almost all measures. But sometimes you look at a champion and a champion that everyone dumps on, and you're like, is it possible that there's some hidden feature about this champion that makes them worthwhile? And I wanted to explore that, so I built up my Woad-Painted a little bit, and I had actually been thinking that for a while. In practice, I knew she wasn't that great, but she was recently buffed, and there had been rumors of her being buffed, so I was, holding off because we didn't know what that buff would entail. And what it entails is, let's get into her real quick. She's in the Barbarian clan, Barbarian faction, and what's interesting, and this is not where I wanted to go. What's interesting about the Barbarians is they're so diverse, and what I mean by diverse is their legendaries are all fantastic. Their epics are almost all horrible, and they have a lot of really good rares. So that's it's an interesting faction. The epics are usually just leave people wanting, and Woad-Painted is no outlier in that regard, unfortunately. But let's just talk about what she can do, and we'll see what we can do from there. Now, it used to be. Let me see if I can find her. Before she was buffed, she only... Here, let's go to the skills where that were buffed. Okay, it was Undying Fury. Removes all debuffs from this champion, then fully heals this champion. It used to be they only healed 30% of the damage, which was, it was pointless. It was a pointless skill. Places a 30% reflect damage on this champion for 2 turns. Okay, that's fine. Overpower. Attacks one enemy and has a 75% chance of placing a block cooldown skills debuff for 2 turns. Damage inflicted is proportional to this champion's max hit points. Now, before it was buffed, the damage was proportional to the current hit points. I don't know. That's a weird way to make a skill. I don't know if they were afraid that was going to be too strong, because that was a fear that they really shouldn't have, because it's not that strong. And now the damage is all based on attack and hit points. This skill right here doesn't attack. I think that a good part of the buff would have been if it attacked and then also healed. That would have been kind of cool. That doesn't happen, unfortunately. Cross up, I haven't talked about this skill yet. It attacks one enemy 2 times. Has a 25% chance of placing a block cooldown skills debuff for 1 turn. Okay, so you see that the A1 and the A3 both place the same type of debuff. And we'll talk about that in a minute, why that's good and bad. And then attack and hit points, all of these skills are attack and hit points. And I don't know what the split is. Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? Is it 30-70? No idea. And I can't really tell. I did a bunch of testing because there's also, rumors that the lower her hit points got, the more damage she did. So like she kind of intrinsically operated like a Fury set. Which would have been cool to put a Fury set on top of that, right? But I just could not see that was the case. If it was the case, maybe they changed it when they buffed her in November. I don't know, but I tried it. The difference in damage between her at max hit points and her at low hit points, I couldn't really see a huge difference. And maybe like a more data mining would yield different results, but from my casual testing, I did not see that to be the case. Okay, so why even do a video on this champion that's not very good? Because there's going to be people out there where this is their first epic. Their first epic is Woad-Painted, and then they'll be like, yay, I finally got an epic. It's Woad-Painted. I heard that champion's terrible. What do I do now? And it happens. Brandon Hubler, B-Hubs, who has a really great raid channel, you should check it out. I'm pretty sure this was his first epic. I remember him watching a video of his on horrible epics, and this was in there, and I think he said that this was his first one. So it's going to happen to people, and it's going to be sad, but it's going to happen. So is there a way to make this champion good, or at least marginally useful. And there is. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Because her skills do block cooldowns, and you have to think to yourself, why would I want block cooldowns? I don't know why I closed the screen. Like, I don't know why I want block cooldowns when I can just have a champion with a stun, or a sleep even, or a freeze, something that totally takes the champion out, where now they can still hit me with an A1, right? All this does is block, their cooldowns. Well, what if you're running a counterattack team? You want them to hit with your A1, and it actually is beneficial to not have someone frozen or stunned or slept or just completely taken out of things for a while. So there is that. Now, granted, there's also resetting cooldowns, like or put skills on cooldown, like Sinesha does, which can usually be better than just the 2 turns that this one does. But I guess there's another way to do it. The blocks cooldown just for 2 turns. I don't know when that would be preferable. I guess it would just be a timing thing, but this is the way it is for this champion. So let's see what she can do, shall we? Alright, and here we have a typical mid-game Woad-Painted, level 50, just their typical 3 ascensions, some 16s on the important stats, just left it at 12 on some of the ones that aren't quite so important. I concentrated almost exclusively on hit points. You see, I leveled the helmet to 16, and the gloves, chest, and boots are all hit points. So here we have hit points on the gloves, hit points on the chest, hit points on the boots. I didn't even go speed on the boots. I just wanted to boost up her hit point pool as high as possible. So if you look at the total stats, for a mid-tier level 50, 45,000, not too bad. 44,000 really. Everything else is pretty middling. I focused a little bit on accuracy, because if she only has block cooldown skills, you might as well at least try to land it. So I got some accuracies there. And I did the same with the masteries. I did not. I just invested, a couple hundred energy running her through just to get to tier 3. So she has the swarm smiter, so she can get through waves, because she will land block cooldown skills on the wave enemies. And then over on offense, I chose Heart of Glory as the tier 2, beside the one that everyone takes. Increases damage by 5% when attacking with full hit points, because her hit points are going to be full almost all the time, because she has the skill that raises her to full. She's in lifesteal gear, and again, I chose the lifesteal gear mainly because of the way her skill used to be, where it was current hit points. So I always wanted to keep her hit points as high as possible. That's not as important now, but besides the 2 block cooldown skills she has, her A2 of healing herself to full, I also wanted to maximize synergies with that as much as possible. So I have single out targets less than 40 hit points. That's just to get rid of them faster. Heart of Glory was really the key in this tier. Okay, let's see here. So we saw artifacts, we saw masteries, we saw the skills. Let's move on to how she operates in some content. I have her going through ice golems, and I have her going through the arena. You can go through dragon. She's fine there, not great. She is no good in Fire Knight, no good in Spider. She's good in most of the potion dungeons if you feel like you can slot her in there instead of anyone else. Again, if it's your first epic, go for it. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so let's foray, shall we, into ice golems. This team is built kind of specifically with Woad-Painted in mind. I have Lord Chamfort leading. He gives a massive hit point boost to the champions on the team. I have Spirit Host in there to get rid of annoying debuffs that the Ice Golems minions put out. Apothecary, of course, speed and heals, can't go wrong with that. Foley is here for DPS, and also, though, to lay down Leech, where everyone that hits heals a little bit. And again, I had that more in mind with the old incarnation of Woad-Painted, where she was based on damage was based on current hit points. and not max hit points like it is now. But still, Leech is not a bad debuff to have in dungeons for this champion, for any champion really. This is Ice Golem's 13, so and you see everyone's level 50, so that's a really good place to be for farming. The Ice Golem's 13 is the first stage that has your 6-star gear, so as you're moving up through the game and you're farming, this is a really good level to farm once you get your team at least to a middle position here. Like everyone here, no one has real, I think Foley's probably the furthest along, but there's not a lot of people with all 16 level 16 gear and no mastery. I think the only people that have masteries is Apothecary has a little bit. Foley I think just has the tier 1 and tier 2 masteries. I mean, I showed you the masteries on Woad-Painted. She's at tier 3, and Lord Tramper doesn't have any. He is just someone I got, and I never really built up much. But I saw his aura was hit points. We have a Woad-Painted whose damage is kind of dependent on hit points, at least to some percentage. We don't know what exactly. Additionally, her A2, the one that heals to full, which is a really good skill if you don't have a healer. It removes all debuffs ahead of time, so it's especially good in this dungeon where we have these two minions that lay down irritating debuffs. The heal block is such a pain in the butt that champion lays down, and the defense down stinks. So she clears it all, then heals to full, so she can actually defeat the heal down. Now this was interesting. See, he has a block cooldown skills, but he still laid down a heal block on Foley because I guess they're on A1s. So her two skills that she has are completely useless in this dungeon. In fact, in any dungeon, because they don't affect the minions. So even taking into potions, it doesn't affect the minions there either. The only skill that she has that's of any real use, outside from the trash mobs as you get to the boss, is her heal to full. Removing debuffs, heal to full, is a really decent skill in a boss fight to have. So I can't discount that too much, especially the way that it removes debuffs ahead of time. That's the way to defeat the heal down debuffs. Is kind of cool. So as we're in the middle of this fight and we're just kind of winding down, let's talk about what Woad is. Woad-Painted is a blue dye from this woad plant. It's this kind of yellow flowered scrub brush. And it's actually in the States now. It was imported from Europe over the course of the years, and it's an invasive species. It grows kind of out of control in the Midwest, and there's a lot of blue pigment in its leaves and all over the plant really, but its leaves especially. And so you can make a blue dye out of it. Now, granted, that blue dye is made from stale urine, so maybe give Woad-Painted here a wide berth because I'm sure she does not smell very good, but. Traditionally, it was the ancient Picts that came up with it, as far as I can ascertain from my investigatory reading before I made the video. They would paint themselves blue to fight the Romans. They wouldn't wear any armor. They wouldn't wear clothes. They just paint their bodies blue, and that would somehow magically repel missiles and make them better fighters. I guess with their magical patterns that they have put over themselves. Julius Caesar wrote about it. About how they painted themselves blue. However, he never actually saw it himself because he never got that far north. But there were reports that was the case. So, take that as you will. That practice died out, though. They still use the dye for clothing, but the body paint stopped. So if you watch Braveheart and you say, "Oh, that's awesome how they painted themselves blue," it's also BS because it never happened. That was just a stylistic choice that Mel Gibson made for when he made the movie. It does look cool, but it actually, is fiction. Historical fiction, but fiction nonetheless. Alright, so that's my Woad story, and look at that, and we're still fighting the boss. Should have dragged that out a bit more. Talked about the whole process. There actually is I watched a guy dye a shirt blue using Woad plants, and he did it in his little lab at home. I really got to work on my spare time and what I do with it. He soaked the big jar of pee, and he stuck a shirt in it. He's like, "I gotta wash that a few times." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you do." Oh my god. I can smell it through my monitor. Ugh. Anyway, we're almost done here. I'm sorry this is taking so long. Oh, let's have a drink. Wish I had more anecdotes. I'm just going to have to wait for him to finish. The only reason I want to wait for him to finish because I want to show you the stats that our friend Woad-Painted racks up, because it's not bad. Granted, she's only one of 2 DPS, so it kind of makes sense that she comes in second in DPS, but she does. But her healing stats are actually quite impressive. Come on now. Okay, alright, yeah, ignore the minions. You don't need to fight them anymore. There you go. Thank you, Lord Chamfort. Putting in the killing blow. Okay, you can't see Lord Chamfort's damage, but it's nothing to write home about. We see what Woad-Painted did. 312, Foley did 391, so they split really close. And she took 146,000 damage and healed for almost 300,000. So, not bad for our friend Woad-Painted here. She did self-sustain very nicely through the fight, even after losing Spirit Host. She did not bad. Not bad. But again, she wouldn't be my first choice to take her through anything. So, let's look in Arena and see what happens there. No, not you. No, not you. No, not you. There we go. Okay, so I just kind of picked a team at random, but I wanted someone with a skill that we really wanted to lock down. So Soul Drinker, his bombs are a pain in the butt after those 3 turns. So what I really want to do was take him out right away. So, and she did. She landed it. Now, also, I have Torment on here, and that's kind of easy mode a little bit. But, if you have a tool in your toolbox, you might as well use them. So we've shut down Soul Drinker. Torment gets a couple freezes here and there to help mitigate damage, but what we're really just looking for is to Skull Crown to do our thing. And so Skull Crown's built through the defense tree with Retribution, all the stuff. She's in Avenging Gear, so she's totally set up for counterattack. I have Skull Crusher there for counterattack, so this is about as ideal a team as you can build if you want to integrate Woad-Painted. Again, saying that is so weird because why would you want to do that? But this is what we got. And she's actually locking down Soul Drinker does help me tremendously. Alright, she also shut down Aether a little bit too, so that saves some damage. Alright, and our primary threat, or at least I think our primary threat is done. She heals herself to full, removes her debuffs, and she's good to go for the next round. Counterattacks back up. And Skull Crown will take care of business. I wanted to see if I could shut down Doom Priest, but to no avail. And one more and we're good. Alright, so obviously Skull Crown did all the heavy lifting in there. But, let me shut off me. Let's see, she didn't do, right? You see that she healed herself to full. She took a lot of damage, right? She didn't deal out a lot herself, but she did lock down Soul Drinker. And Soul Drinker, as you can see, he did no damage. So, points to Woad-Painted for landing those lockdowns and making that fight a lot easier for me than it possibly could have been. So there is that. So there you go. If you have Woad-Painted, if she's your first epic or an early epic and you want to build her, she does have utility. Now granted, that margin is very small. The fact that the block cooldown skills does not affect the minions is a bummer. But in Arena, on a counterattack team, yes, I know there's only the 3 team counterattack champions in the game. So if you have Skull Crusher, Martyr, or Valkyrie, man, you could put in a Woad-Painted in there if you were so inclined, and you could totally take advantage of her lockdowns as your team counterattacks, because you want them to use their A1s. So I realize how small a segment of the population this is that I'm referring to, but there you have it. It would have been cool if a Fury set would have like double Furied her as she went down low in hit points and the two things stacked. That would have been fun, a fun way to implement the champion. However, that's just not the way it is, and it just is what it is. And there you go. I wanted to make a video on Woad-Painted because I thought she was funny. I guess that's what it really boils down to. Oh, hey, yeah, okay, all right, okay, all right. And the cat wants some attention. Okay, so thank you guys. I appreciate it. I hope you like this, enjoyed this. If you have any comments, if you have any other ways that you can also use Woad-Painted that I completely missed, please say so in the comments. I would appreciate it. And I really thank you for watching. Throw me a like to butter up my algorithm. If you enjoyed this, definitely subscribe because I enjoy making these videos and I really want people to enjoy watching them. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. This was a fun video to make. It was interesting researching what Woad-Painted meant. So I will see you guys next time. Take care, enjoy, and Godspeed.